Today I will be walking you through making your very own Future Foundation Spider-Man suit. I will try my hardest to make this tutorial as beginner friendly as possible, but of course I won't be holding your hand through everything. For I am not your helicopter parent, I am instead your favorite YouTube man. Also, just a heads up, I will be reviewing a really cool product that was sent to me later on in the video. I promise it'll be really helpful if you're a creative person like me, or just need a new place to play grow a garden. Anyway, the list of materials will be in the description for those who need it, but before we begin, let us take a bit of a gander at the Future Foundation suit. The Future Foundation suit is mostly white, broken up by some black panels on the side and a big spider in the front that wraps around to the back, not too different from the way the black suit handles its logo. These black panels come all the way from the side of Spider-Man's boot to the inside of his glove. The mask is pretty simple too, just some big black lenses of a round shape. This design is beloved by many, and for a good reason. The Future Foundation suit is all about contrast and how well two very different colors can work with one another. The suit is overall very simple. Shouldn't be too hard to create in real life, huh? This brings us to my desk. Day numero uno. We got our materials. Our foundation, if you will. The very first thing that I want to do is work on the logo, since that's probably the hardest part of this suit. My plan is to create a paper template of all the parts of the logo, segmented into different pieces. I would then transfer them to black fabric and glue them together onto the costume. My first instinct was to just puff paint everything, but that would take an absolute crap ton of puff paint, especially with those panels, and I don't really feel like getting arthritis today. So, fabric it is. You want to start by sketching out each piece individually on some paper. It's good to bring in the other pieces you've already cut to cross-reference and make sure they line up properly. The Future Foundation logo is a little bit complicated with how the shapes all connect, but when they're segmented like this, it makes things a lot easier. It's also really helpful to have a good reference image to help you with the accuracy of anything in your costume, which is why I made this little reference sheet with my own sketch of what the suit will look like, accompanied by a lot of different reference images and angles of the suit. For the next step, we're gonna have to bring out a special friend.
We got Uncle Ben joining us today. He's gonna help us out. Decapitate the man. We're gonna put our suit on him.
I can't stress enough how helpful it is to have a mannequin when you're creating a Spider-Man suit. If you don't have one, that's okay. Putting a flat piece of cardboard atop your pillow and stuffing it in your suit will achieve a very similar effect. That's what I did before I had one of these guys. After you cut out all the pieces, tape them together and wrap it around your mannequin to make sure everything fits right and is a good size.
A little bit wobbly today. Anyway, now stop wobbling so much. Stay there. Anyway, now we're gonna mark where our logo is gonna be, because that's gonna help us a little bit later when we decide to place a logo. So I'm thinking like right here-ish, I would say. Maybe. Hope I didn't make a really big mistake. Yeah.
We're working with fabric now. Scary, I know, but we'll get through this. I can't really use a marker to trace over my pattern pieces onto this fabric since it's all black, so I decided to just puff paint around them instead. Call me stupid all you want, and maybe you're right, but this way I can tell easily where I'm cutting since the puff paint is slightly raised. Hopefully, this doesn't screw me over later. Try to go really light on the puff paint, or you could always just use a different method to mark where you're cutting. It'll be a lot easier for you if you have markers that you can actually see on black fabric, but I don't, so I'm just doing this. Putting all this stuff on my desk made me realize just how little space I have. After waiting a little while for the puff paint to dry, it was time to cut it out. But you gotta remember there's two identical logos of this suit, which means instead of 2 sets of legs, we want to cut 4. I recommend folding over the fabric a few times below the first when you're cutting, so that you get all the pieces symmetrical and spend the same amount of time cutting all of them, instead of having to mark it all over again and cut each piece slowly. I'm taking a lot of risks today. Before we attach our fabric pieces, it's smart to first iron them so that they're all flat. I didn't really feel like burning myself that morning, so this was done using my incredibly helpful and disposable father.
Father, do you have anything to say to the people at home?
Hey chat! Right now our pieces are incredibly wrinkly and it makes them very hard to work with, but with some heat they'll be flat enough to be able to glue on. Now it's time to glue our pieces onto the costume. I'm using fabric glue, but you can always use hot glue if you have it. It's a little annoying with all the pieces bending and folding, but ironing them down did help quite a bit.
This is really scary. This is going to be very terrifying.
First I glued the pieces together on this conveniently placed box, and then I carefully attached everything to the front of the suit. Make sure to use a ruler if you need help getting everything lined up properly. It's not perfect of course, but I'm happy with the result. Now I just have to do all this again for the back. While past Roman is depleting his serotonin, I have something cool to show you.
Ooh. Yikes. Man, this thing sucks. Ugh. What happened here? This desk has seen better days. Way better days.
SPADES was kind enough to send me this desk, and I can confidently say it's a massive upgrade over my old one. As you can clearly see, my old desk is crusty, dusty, musty, and full of glue stains. Luckily, this really high quality desk was sent my way, and I was given the task of building it with the help of my disposable father. Here we go! It was actually pretty easy, it only took about 45 minutes or so. I'm not trying to call anybody out here, but we all know of that other place that prides itself in giving instructions equivalent to a cryptic ancient slab. But I was pleasantly surprised to learn that the instructions were pretty easy to follow. All the parts were labeled and it even came with its own little screwdriver. Handy. Once it was all put together, it fit all my nerd stuff too. Plus, there's a really neat LED strip and a super convenient adapter for all your cables that you might need if you plan on using this desk for a PC or for any other gadgets that need electricity to survive, like a charging stand for your phone. It comes with some nice drawers too, which are very helpful if you have a lot of random stuff like I do. This desk not only looks really nice, but it also fits all my awesome stuff in one place, which I can't say for my previous desk. I guarantee it will be super useful for any future cosplays too. Speaking of which, let's get back to that Future Foundation suit. Thanks so much to SPADES for sending over this product, and feel free to check out some of their awesome desks and more stuff down in that link in the description. Now back to the video. The mask was real easy. I always start by cutting out small eye holes just so I know where to place the lenses. Don't worry about them being small, since after the mask is basically done, we'll just turn it inside out and cut the holes way bigger later. But first, it's time to make our lenses. I usually just sketch out the shape on a piece of paper and cut it out. This is our paper lens template. The shape can be whatever you want, especially if it's a custom design, but I'm trying to go accurate, so I made these big round ones. Now we trace the template onto some PC fan mesh and cut it out. But we can't just glue the mesh straight to the mask. I've done it before and wouldn't recommend it. Instead, you should use some craft foam to create rims for the inside of your lens. This will make it so that we're gluing the rim to our mask instead of just the mesh. Use your template that you definitely didn't throw away to trace out your rims. They don't have to be perfect, as long as they fit inside the mesh. Once that's done, glue them together and you have your lens. Now normally I would just skip straight to gluing these to the mask, however, since I'm using black fan mesh, I realized it would be super easy to see the rims from the outside. Yikes. So instead, I got some trusty privacy tint and cut it out so that I could glue it to the lens. This stuff was normally used for windows, but not anymore. Now our lenses look much darker so you can't see the rims, and they also have that reflective sheen that the comic lenses do. Very nice. Although in retrospect, I probably would have just glued the rims to the tint itself instead of using the mesh, since the visibility would be a little better, but it's not so bad. Now we gotta glue them to our mask. Pretty self-explanatory, just hold them in place for about 30 seconds to maximize their stickiness. Then wait a few hours for it to dry, turn the mask inside out, and now you just gotta cut out the eye holes to be as big as you need, making sure not to cut too far out of the lens. Now we have our mask.
Looking very good. I think I might have the most accurate Future Foundation mask in the world. Maybe I'm wrong.
The back logo was pretty easy too. We already have all the pieces ready since you folded over the fabric earlier when cutting like I told you to. And since my viewers always listen to me, you don't have to spend a bunch of time cutting. Glue the pieces together like before, but this time cut straight through the middle to make room for the zipper. Now just try to paint the zipper and the surrounding area black with a Sharpie. It didn't work super well for me, but I did the best I could. We're in the home stretch now. All we gotta do left is finish the panels, the gloves, and the soles. The panels are pretty easy, the only problem is that there's so many of them. I wasn't really worried about replicating the exact amount of panels in the comic costume, but I did make a few changes. There's this one really long panel that connects between the armpit and the side of the chest. I didn't really want that to connect because I had a feeling it would look awkward when you move your arm. You gotta remember I'm gluing these pieces on, which means there will be wrinkles, and I didn't really want to risk this piece looking strange if I put my arm down, so I decided to just split it in half so that they're two separate pieces instead. I hope that little tangent made sense. Anyway, the gluing process was pretty straightforward. Cover the inside of the panel with glue and then carefully place it on. My mannequin doesn't really have legs, so I just dismembered his arm and used it to stuff out the leg of the suit. You could definitely use some cardboard to achieve the same thing, or maybe you have a leg-shaped object, who knows. The panels took forever, but I finally finished the first side. It took about 7 panels from the chest to the foot and about 2 on the inside of the arm. Not hard, but very time consuming. The next morning I finished the other side, and suddenly the suit looked a lot more complete. I definitely had a newfound appreciation for how much these angular black panels contribute to the design. Next, it was time for the gloves. I would then glue that to the white glove of our suit, to make it so that the inside of the hand is black. Be very careful and make sure you glue in the right spots so that you don't leave any black parts rising off the glove. Huh, well that was pretty easy. The soles could have been done in my sleep. First you gotta get some good old water shoes and cut out the top. They gotta be a size smaller than your size so that they can hug your foot properly. That was a very strange sentence. After that was done, I covered the sole with some glue and placed my dogs inside. Once you do this, wait about 30 minutes for them to be dry enough to very carefully pull yourself out of the suit, and then leave them to dry for a few hours. It's helpful to pull up a chair so that you have somewhere to sit while your feet are placing pressure on the sole. Maybe go watch this video while you're waiting. Or a VOD. I stream every Friday and do lots of Q&As and community drawing suggestions and whatnot. Sometimes you'll even find me working on my Spider-Man cartoon live or answering questions about my book series. Okay, plug over. With all that done, it was time to put it on. The suit was finished. Yo, thanks so much for watching. This video took a long time to make and a lot of editing. Feel free to subscribe or join the channel membership if you want to support me, all that fun YouTube stuff. If you're expecting me to give my thoughts on the suit and what I think of it, you'll have to wait. I plan to make a big video talking about all my Spidey suits and what went into making them soon. I've never really sat down and reviewed my work when it comes to these costumes, so I thought it'd be a pretty fun video, especially for those of you who are new to the channel and haven't seen my other suits. Anyway, I'm gonna disappear for like a week because I'm going on vacation, so if I don't post anything for a bit, I'm not dead. I'll see you guys in the next episode, which will probably be soon. God bless.
Whoa! Okay. I fell for a second.
I saw that.